I meant it controversial, but it wasn't controversial at all. But what was not received as controversial. On the contrary, all the Israeli Hebrew and English and occult in Hungarian and in German, I mean, all the newspapers that existed in the early 60s received it as a great news, literary news, because here for the same time, someone who is not Jewish broke in and became Hebrew writer. That was all they said. I mean, no one have said, "What are you doing here? What are you writing?" No, nothing. Literature is a very individual act. I mean, there are many writers today who tend to understand the other, in this case, the Palestinian, the Arab, or the non-Jew, or the gays, or the whoever, but more than before. But the general public in Israel, I think, and the government are all the time sliding to the right. Israel that I first met was a leftist, welfare state, claiming on some aspects of being socialist, and today Israel is Margaret Thatcher kind of state. Listen, here we are in the tranquility zone called Cambridge. If that was to happen in Tel Aviv, there would be more echo, more angry voices, more possibly there will be more people, friendly people come about to join. I don't know, but listen, I think the people in Israel now do think more. They need to think more and to look around and to look for something new, to new paths. I mean, in the last few years, I notice, anyone can notice, that there is more interest in Arab music in Israel. I mean, in many places, there are people, Jewish, Sephardi, and Ashkenazi, who meet and go to hear together Kulthum. I think Sayyid Kashur is very popular, maybe also quite controversial, but the way he writes is provocative. But I mean, that Arabs in Israel play a major role. Oh, there are, of course, scores of Arabs who were accepted in the academy. I mean, in the all universities in Israel, you will find Arabs. Not in one go of Shabbat, but there are many Arabs who are teaching in different departments. I think that is that's the difference between 40 years ago and today. More students and more second and third degree students and more teachers. I'm not going away from my place, from my home, quite often. I have my own personal problems in the last 7 years, I didn't attend one meeting, or maybe not one, not maybe more than one meeting in a year. I didn't meet with others, foreigners. That doesn't mean that the world stopped moving because I am not there. But my impression that we need far more. I mean, meetings and discussions and looking for a way to reconcile and to influence the other side and the people across the border. I think Israel is not moving in that direction. I feel that without being very active in public life. On this issue, I will have just one advice to give. I'm not sure that it is of any use, but that's the only. I say religions tend to be based on big volumes, and people of bad intentions will open one page, or one section, or one chapter, and people who have bad intentions will look for others. So don't say Islam is bad or violent. Don't say Christianity is peaceful. Of course, the Gospels usually are far more peaceful than the Quran. In the Quran, you have some peaceful chapters and you have some violent chapters. Christianity is less, but when it comes to practice, Christians will find a line on one page and turn it the old Christian faith. And when Muslims want to live in peace, they will find enough material, to support that way of thinking. So I don't think Islam is violent at the end and Christianity is peaceful, or the other way. I think it is very much dependent on the general situation and what the rulers or the leaders of that or this society put emphasis on. I don't. It's not because of literature. Creating literature is a personal thing. I will write a novel, you will write a poem, and she will write a play. We may like the company of each other, then we come together. But music we have, music, orchestra, and then all people can come and listen and watch. It's much far easier than that's on the production side, but also the people now don't read poetry in a meeting. We have a theater. In the Jewish community, there are theaters. I know of one or two plays that were Arab plays that were played or produced in Arab communities, in Jewish communities. And I know about Jewish plays that were shown in, I don't think there were something that was obviously giving, I mean, a real impact, or at least an impact that you can feel it. I knew the Iraqi Jews are having a very strong emotions towards Iraq. I know that. I met Christian Iraqis in the United States who feel themselves like exiled in the United States, and there are big communities of Christians, and Christians no doubt are persecuted in Iraq, badly persecuted, but still they speak about Iraq like they were driven out of paradise. This I knew, but this attempt that in 2-3 days to tell us about everyone in Iraq who wrote his name in Arabic was for me something very, very peculiar. I don't think this is going to give me much thought, to tell the truth. But when it came to Israel, and I didn't know how bad they felt when they came to Israel, and how they were treated by their Ashkenazi brothers. This will give me I think this will give me something to think about in the future. Now, when we came to talk about the Arabs in Israel, I don't think there was something new. For example, my friend Manar, when he started to tell about Arab novelists, he told about one man called Muammar. I knew Muammar very well. He said he is from Haifa. He was not from Haifa, he's a Nazarene. He's from a big family of Nazarenes. And his books were the only books I think someone published. He's the Greek Orthodox, but his books were published by a Greek Catholic bishop and distributed. And I think Manar gave him the national, I think if Manar was my age, and he would know, if he will ask his father what happened to Muammar. Muammar was a poor man. May him rest in peace. Forget it. From Manar and others, not only from Manar, I learned that these academic who go to evaluate books that was written 50 years ago, they are misled by some ideas they possess today. But when these books were written, they were written in another atmosphere, and so. Tawfiq Muammar was a lawyer, and his book about Haifa, the war in Haifa, Manar mentioned, is an anti-Arab document. Of course, it was also anti-Jewish, because the Jews conquered Haifa and people went away from Haifa. But Tawfiq Muammar there tells the story how the Jews were asking the Arabs to stay. They were not driving them away. So this is not a literary book. This is more a political history book. The other one, Bethune, is a story of a man, not exactly a man, just a man, but also a man who is sick with lust for women. So he says that Muammar, was talking highly of this soldier woman. He was thinking of, of making love to this soldier. I mean, because I knew Muammar. I knew him for years. He could not sit with you 5 minutes. He may invite you to come to his office or something, but if he will notice that a girl is walking in the street, he will run after her, doing nothing, just looking how she walks and how, and he will come back after 10 minutes and he will say, "What a bottom." And that for me was another lesson, that these people, when they read these books, they
read into it, don't they? They bring their own perceptions.
Exactly.
But is that a generational development? You know, there's your generation and there's Manwar's generation, and they have different contexts. He's obviously younger.
Maybe. Listen, I don't know. I mean, I just walked out from that lecture and came here. So I have under the impression that how can people read texts which, maybe many others do it about when you read Shakespeare and you think that he said that because of that, but he said it entirely in a completely other context. My daughter, Nazat, came to me and she said, "You always mentioned Rashid Hussein." Yes, I do. He was my friend. What he did write about Acre? I said, he loved a girl in Acre. And she said, and because of that girl, he is saying this and that. Yes, that poem was written for her because she was willing to accept him and to talk to him and to be with him and to please him and to be pleased by him. And my daughter thought, as their teacher told her, that he loved Acre because Acre have these walls that stood in the face of Napoleon. You understand? There were no Napoleon in this story. There were one woman Rashid loved. So Manar is not doing something, odd. This is quite common, but in the case of Tawfiq Muammar, whom I know very, very well, it was for me a kind of shock.
Well, Atallah Mansour, thank you very much.
You are welcome.